Hi. Hi, good evening. How are you doing? I hope you had a nice Deepavali festival with your family, despite all the difficulties we had this year. And let us look forward to good times in the next coming months and coming days. Hope that the COVID pandemic has gone by and we would have a different level as we are moving ahead. So, thanks a lot for joining my live session today. As I've been doing in the last couple of days, I will start talking about the mindset culture change. That has been my main theme for the this series of live sessions which I am doing. So I'll first share my presentation and then start talking about that, and then come to the today's topic. So I first started by explaining to you the contents. This is about a week back, and after that I went on to talk about brain, what the power of our brain, which is the hardware is, and after that went on to speak about the software, which is the mind, is what I said, and what is the power of the mind. And then on the right side, what you see as an animation are the synapses getting formed in the mind. And later, once I did this, I went on to speak about the mindset, what in my understanding mindset is all about, starting with emotions, then some emotions being good, bad, and ugly. And after that, that based on these emotions, a framework is created. And this framework is nothing other than mindset, based on which predictions are done in real-time basis, wherein the subconscious mind is able to prepare the action 500 milliseconds before the action is executed in real-time basis, whereas the conscious mind takes about 200 milliseconds prior to executing the action to come to know of the action. And after that, I said this prediction, which our subconscious mind is doing, is basically driving all our perceiving, thinking, deciding, and acting. And after that, I went on to say that it was a kind of a intermediate conclusion, saying that mindset defines and drives the way we are perceiving, thinking, defining, and acting or responding. And once that was done, the next day I went on to talk about the team, which is the culture. In which case, the culture is basically a collection of mindsets of various people coming together and then evolving a common mindset for the team, which is nothing other than culture, which is a different word for that, a collective mindset. And here you can see in the animation that the colors of the filter on the right side are changing because each person comes with a different mindset. Therefore, the filters are different, will not be the same at all. In fact, they are absolutely unique. You can't find two different people with the same or identical filters. Even the twins have different filters. So it's not at all identical. And after that, I went on to say that even the teams experience emotional memories. They too have good, bad, and ugly memories. And then based on which a framework is developed, and the teams also do predictions and they behave in a particular fashion. To illustrate that, I said when you are in different groups, you behave differently. That is quite natural. Then after that, I concluded that day by talking about mindset defining and driving our individual actions and collect and behavior, while culture does the same for teams. And then the last I did was to explain the difference between fixed mindset and agile mindset, and between passive learning and active learning, and pedagogy and andragogy. That was when I ended my presentation on Friday. It was. And today, I'm going to talking to you about, and then I think I ended with this slide where I said that the key is to do discussions on contextual topics, because otherwise you'll be going around and round in circles on various topics, because we need to change the mindset only depending on the context. Because in the business sense, it is always important that there is a target to be achieved, and for that target, the let me start the laser pointer. Where is the show pointer view presenter pointer options laser pointer? So basically, for the target and to achieve the target, there is a path defined, and this is the context that we're talking about. All we would do to really change the mindset for that particular topic is to talk about the context, which is around the paths to achieving a target, and then discuss contextual hints which create emotional experiences which are much needed to change both individual and collective mindset. I ended this slide with this slide, I suppose. I remember. If not, I would have done that now. So I've explained this slide, which is basically to talk about contextual topics. And before we go to the contextual topics, let me today start talking about the uh, let me today start talking about the three types of learning domains which are essential for working on these contextual topics, and then I speak about contextual topics tomorrow. So I don't know whether you heard of this. This is called as the Bloom's taxonomy. There are three domains of learning which Bloom defined or described. One is the cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. Thanks a lot, Jay Prakash. Nice that you feel that it is absolutely true, whatever I've been telling. And thanks for your comment. So let me also show you on the screen so that others can see. This is a comment made by Jay Prakash Biban from Jaipur, I suppose. And then these are the three domains of learning, which is cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Let me go into the little more depth of these three domains of learning, because that is the core of understanding how the mindset and how the contextual hints can be developed. That is something which is very important. So now the first is what is called as the cognitive domain. Cognitive domain is the learning domain which normally is the area to focus on during teaching, during university education, during the entire education, during the college days, school days, and even PhD, wherever you go. Cognitive domain is very much there. That is the foundation, wherein the first level of learning that our mind is doing is to remember, and after that to understand the concept, understand the content being understand in our own way. When I say understand in our own way, based on our past experiences, to understand and appreciate the content that we learned, then try to apply that learning to some example, and after that analyze the effects, the favorable and adverse effects of that particular application which we did, and after that evaluate it. And that's then, once that is done, then we have now understood the content. It could be as simple as learning how to cook. It could be learning how to solve an equation, or it could be learning how to design a simple what should I say, a room, for example, or design a building. And then finally you start creating it. That is when the ultimate level of cognitive learning is, where we can create things based on the learning which we had. We learned something, so we can create. Or maybe something to do with programming. You learned how to program Python or R or COBOL or Fortran. That was the oldest one which I learned when I was in college. Very, very simple. My learning was extremely simple. Or a CNC programming, you learn that, and you create by defining a program. You create a program, and then that is the final level of cognitive domain. So this is the first domain which is important, because any change in mindset which has to happen needs to address all these six levels of cognitive domain. Then comes the next one, which is extremely important, and that is the place where do how and my methodology focuses on. This is called as the affective domain. This is something which is very interesting. Affective domain is about really creating the desire to do something, reflecting for wanting to do something. That is affective domain. If I summarize on the cognitive domain, it's about learning for knowing. By progressing in the cognitive domain, you learn basically to know something. And in this case, you talk about the I think I went back, so I need to really do a little circus here. Okay, so in the affective domain, it's about wanting. It's about creating a desire. I spoke about taking the horse to water or getting the horse thirsty. This is about creating the thirst, and this thirst comes from within. It's not about somebody creating the thirst for us. It's ourselves creating the thirst for us. How does it happen? The first thing that would happen is we would receive some information. For example, whatever I'm talking about now is something which you are receiving. The people who are watching this live session, you are receiving, somebody is reacting, and that receiving is the first level of the affective domain. When we receive something, we create, we have sensations in our body, and these internal sensations, internal emotions are called as affects, AFFECTS, and that's the reason why it is called as the affective domain, because it is about internal sensations in our human body. I always said that our mindset is based on the emotional experiences, emotional memories. So that emotion is extremely important. And that emotion is the internal sensation in the body. So we have some kind of a sensation when we are receiving information, receiving some content, receiving some praise or some guidance or whatever it is. That is the first step. Second is, once you received something, we respond to that. When we are responding, again, we are having some kind of an emotion. Either you could be feeling happy, you could be feeling excited, or you could be feeling a little let down. When you are responding something, responding is what is the response you gave to something which you received. That is the second level of affective domain. And then again, you try to find out what kind of sensations or effects which have within your body. And once that is done, the second level, then now you have been doing that for many things. You are doing it for maybe in the school or at home or at work or along with the friends, you're constantly receiving something and responding something. And this entire thing is then valued to really look at what is the value of the assess what of the sensation you had. Did you feel nice? Did you feel thrilled? Did you feel happy? Or did you feel extremely sad? Did you feel that you are humiliated? Did you feel that you are guilty? And these sensations which you had within your body, could tingling sensation, people say that you have a spine chilling sensation. These sensations are then valued. Once you value this sensation, that is the third level of the affective domain learning. Most of this happens in subconscious, and at the same time can be done in conscious mind too. And consciously, if we are doing it, then we are accelerating the process of changing habits, accelerating the process of creating a different mindset. Once you have valued it, the next one is to talk about organizing this. What is organizing this? We do have a lot of experiences. I had a fantastic spine chilling sensation when I watched a movie, or when I first went on to cycle on a long trip. It was a very exciting memory. So that's really exciting for me. So I would like to do cycling. Now I would compare whatever new value which I established, or which I assigned to the new experience which I had, with that old experience of going for a cycling round, or maybe going for a walk in the morning. And then I say that, look, I need to organize it now. That is the next level, which is organizing. Now I'm trying to organize the new experience which I had, which possibly could be reading a book. Maybe reading an audiobook. I keep reading audiobooks. How is my experience in reading an audiobook in comparison to the excitement and the sensations I have when I'm going for a morning walk? And maybe it says that both of them are equally good, and both of them are equally necessary. Then the next step, or the last step of the affective domain, is to internalize that. Now I start internalizing the new value which I created for learning through listening to an audiobook. And then I say that now I'm going to integrate it with my morning walk. So daily nowadays, almost now about 4 or 5 months, I've been constantly walking with my headphones on, so that I listen as I walk, and I complete books. 2 weeks, I normally take about 1 to 2 weeks to read a full book. And that is something which is extremely interesting. And this new habit I formed, and through that I have a different mindset today. And that's the way the affective domain improves. For affective domain learning to happen, it's important that we have focus, and we recognize internal sensations which are effects. The last domain, which is equally important for any learning and change in the mindset, is what is called the psychomotor domain. Psychomotor domain is all about trying to connect the analysis the mind did to some action which we did. It could be an action which we are talking about as a physical action. I would relate even the decision making as a psychomotor domain, not just the cognitive domain, because in the decision making, you are not just trying to what should I say, decide on something with a lot of thought. Many times it's just a gut feel, and that happens naturally. There is no big difficulty in doing that, and therefore that I would recognize as a psychomotor domain. Psychomotor domain is basically where you're trying to move something. If you are trying to express some opinion, you spoke about something without really putting any conscious effort, that I would relate to as psychomotor domain, where it became a habit, it became part of your muscle memory. Here, the first level would be to start imitating. Let us say you start trying to. I remember sitting next to my elders when I was a kid, and looking at them as pressing the clutch and brake as they drove the car, and I always wanted to drive a car. So at some point of time, I also learned driving the car. The first thing is to imitate. Try to understand how they're pressing the car, how they're pressing the clutch and brake. You'd start doing it with your legs. Or in the school, for example, when we learned how to write, the teacher made us to imitate the alphabets which are written on the board on a rule book, where there were 3 lines. I think you remember 1, 2, and 3 lines where we had to write A, B, C, D, or A, A, E, or whatever it is, and or Abed Sede. Whatever that you wrote, and that is something which is imitating. Then the next one would be manipulating, where you are trying to do it on your own without really doing anything. You try to do it a little differently, and that happens naturally. And once that happens, that is the next level of learning in psychomotor domain. Then we start perfecting it. I want to be now better than what the other person showed me, which is a natural progression. There is nothing which is going to hinder us in doing it. I want to be better, and once you are perfected, then you start articulating. Articulating is you are trying to explain to somebody. You're trying to share your learning, share your experience with somebody, how nice it was. Then you're trying to put it in words. That means your mind is able to now understand what is the action you did and convert it into text, convert it into words, and then try to articulate it, show it to somebody. That is the next level. And final is to embody. That means it becomes a natural part of your body. it becomes a natural part of your mind. So there is no effort required to keep driving. It's the same way as we keep driving without any discussion. I don't think there is somebody who needs to tell me that I have to change the gear from the first gear to second gear now when I'm trying to accelerate. That happens naturally, and that is the essence of psychomotor learning. So summing up, all these three domains are extremely necessary for learning in terms of changing the mindset. These three learning domains are extremely essential. But like I said earlier, the most important thing is to work on contextual links. Contextual links which are around the target which you have got and the paths to reaching target. So this is around this entire space. If you derive hints and you start talking about those topics, and then work on the cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain, mindset changes naturally. And that is what I've been doing. I will explain that tomorrow. Thanks a lot for watching. And please do share your comments. And for those of you in India, have a nice evening. And for those of you outside India, have a great day ahead. And from tomorrow, we start a new year. Today was the first day, or yesterday was the first day of the new year after Deepavali. So wish you all the very best. Have a great year ahead. And may all your dreams come true. Let it be prosperous for all of us. And let us see a good, what should I say, good days or the bright days after the COVID pandemic. And thanks a lot for watching. See you tomorrow, more or less at the same time. Goodbye.